Legitimately, when I first laid eyes on the latest M4 iPad Pro, I was none too impressed. But I was wrong. So wrong in that initial impression, this tablet has changed how I work. That's not hyperbole. That's not me saying something crazy for engagement. Before this came out, I did not use an iPad really at all. And today, I carry this with me everywhere. But before we go too far, I'd like to thank today's sponsor, ESR Gear. So why all the hubbub after a month of use? Well, it boils down to a few key features that I'd like to deep dive today. Full disclosure up front, Apple isn't paying me to make this video. No one provided me the iPad, and I'm not a benchmarker, so I'm not gonna dive into the bar charts performance specs. I've used this every single day, a lot, which surprised me. And I wanna talk about why I use this every day and how it's become such a big part of my workflow. Redundant. It really boils down to four main things: the pen, the battery life, the apps, and the pen. Yes, the pen is that good, and it's such a dumb little inclusion on the pen that makes it fantastic. You've heard me say this in previous videos, if you've watched them, that I generally have never been over the moon about the Apple Pencil. It's awkward to hold, it's so long that it feels unbalanced to write with. I've normally found it to be wanting when compared to writing just using a regular old analog pen in an analog notebook. And none of that has really changed. The Apple Pencil Pro dimensionally is the exact same, or at least it feels the exact same as the older Gen 1 and Gen 2 options. But what changes all that is the squeeze functionality, and it seems simple. I know, I got it. It seems simple, and I've already gushed about this for about 400 words in a previous video, and I've seen all your comments saying, oh, it's just the squeeze? That's really it? You're trying to convince me to buy this just because of the squeeze? This small change takes the Apple Pencil Pro from emulating regular writing to actually elevating it. And I've been on something of a quest as of late to find a true replacement for my physical notebook. I've used the iPad, Galaxy Tab, Microsoft Surface. I've even bought a couple of e-ink tablets to try and thread the needle of exactly what I want. And the stumbling block for all of them is that I make a mistake. I have to do something similar to either using a computer. I have to tap on something, I have to click on something, or in the case of Microsoft, I have to use the back of the pen like it has an actual eraser. And those are fine if those work for you. But for me, I can set the Apple Pencil Pro to erase with a squeeze. So when I'm writing, I can instantly fix mistakes. Maybe that doesn't mean much to other folks. Maybe you yourself don't mind these other ways, but I'm telling you, for me, this changes everything. And I feel like I can now take minutes during meetings, write notes during class. I can just write in general and have almost the speed of typing when using my iPad. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm a terrible writer and I make a ton of mistakes. But being able to even just make small mistakes and instantly correct them, oh, and yes, I could probably go another 400 words, but I promised I was not going to do that today, so I'm not going to go crazy here. And I get it. All of you writing the same comments you wrote last time, I get it that this sounds like a fanboy trying to justify the purchase of a wildly expensive accessory, and I do not blame you if that crosses your mind. But I can also promise you this: if the Apple Pencil Pro hadn't released with this iPad, I would not have made so many videos, because this iPad would have just been another year of boring iPad refreshes. My only complaint is that this does not work with the older generation iPads. It's like I've even tried going to my iPad mini, but because that only works with the Apple Pencil Gen 2 and you lose the squeeze, if you could get this on older or cheaper iPads, it would make so much more sense. But unfortunately you can't, which absolutely sucks. But fortunately, there's nothing we're going to fix today in this video. Thanks again to today's sponsor, ESR Gear. If you own an iPad and are looking to make your tech easier, you should check out their new lineup of accessories. ESR's accessories are almost like little ecosystems unto themselves, as you work from the outside and move inside to the screen. Their shifting magnetic case is pretty darn unique in that it is a two-part case. The first part is a lightweight magnetic sleeve that snaps securely into their folio-style stand case. The trick here is that you can do either vertical or horizontal mode in a flash. Additionally, they have a paper feel magnetic screen protector that is super useful because you can put it on, but also take it off at the same time. During Prime Day from 7/16 to 7/17, ESR iPad cases and screen protectors are on sale with discounts ranging from 20% up to 40%, with the highest discount on the Project Pro 11 Blue. Click the link below to check it out. The next major thing that I've liked about the M4 iPad Pro 1 month later is the battery life. I remember a few years ago thinking that the battery life on the iPad was the singular best I'd ever seen from a mobile product. Then the M1 MacBooks came out. I'm not going to talk about how long you can set this to watch YouTube in an empty room. There are plenty of videos and real benchmarkers out there that can give you expected length of life. What I will talk about are the several work trips I've had to travel for in the past month, and how not one single time have I felt nervous about running low on power. In detail, I had 2 trips in which I needed to fly to my destination, and 3 trips in which I drove. For all 5, I brought and used the iPad Pro so much. Obviously, I'm not using the iPad when I'm driving, so that should easily, okay, we don't even have to worry about those 3 trips. Yes, when I was there, it worked great, but on the trip itself, I just had my iPhone listening to YouTube videos. I didn't have it on the entire flight, as I prefer reading books from my phone, but I liked the collaboration between my phone and my tablet. Yes, you can do a similar thing with the MacBook, but it's not the same as iPadOS, to its detriment that we'll talk about later, is more mobile focused, so the apps really interact better iOS to iPadOS. The biggest test that I put the iPad through was sitting at a work training course for a week and having it on, taking notes for 7 hours straight a day. We took an hour for lunch, so it was an 8-hour class day, but I didn't have it on during lunch. The only day it got close was like a day that went to 8.5 hours, and even then, I left with 15% life. If you aren't going to have the tablet on literally every second of the day, you'll never have a problem here. The next major thing I've liked are the apps. But that leads me to the problem, how do I want to phrase this? iPad apps, the apps designed specifically for the iPad, are some of the best productivity tools on the market, period. Yes, some of them can be used on the web, or they are available on Android or on Windows, but even those are not always optimized, and they might be missing features compared to the iPad versions. And I don't think that's too much of an Apple-biased position to take. Again, we'll talk more about the usefulness of the iPad shortly, but if you are looking for a tool to replace a notebook, straight up nothing is better than the iPad. It's the best, and yes, I've used just about everything else. I have a notebook, and I have a pen. These things exist, and I've been using them for over 30 years. I need a device to provide more than just basic writing functionality for me to discard those long-held artifacts of mine, which is where the apps, the pencil, and the iPad in general come in. It's not all sunshine and rainbows though. There are 2 significant things that I really have not liked in my many hours of use. 1, I don't like the new Apple Magic Keyboard, and maybe that's a wider statement that I don't really like any of the tablet-based pro-level keyboards anymore. The second you use this, the iPad, even the 11-inch version, becomes heavier than a laptop. It's a fine keyboard. Look, this is a good keyboard, and it integrates with the iPad well. But when I have a product that costs and weighs this much, I start to have specific expectations of it, and the Magic Keyboard doesn't change anything about the operating system. Look, I get it. I've read your comments in that some of you still love this keyboard, and for you, legitimately, I am very happy. This is not me being sarcastic. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I want to like stuff personally. I find life better when I'm happier with the stuff I buy. So I'm very, if you like this, that's awesome. But it just doesn't do it for me anymore. And that's primarily because of the second thing I haven't liked. I just don't like iPadOS. The problem you can, and Apple has run into when designing half measures, is that you're gonna leave folks on both ends of the spectrum unhappy. And that's what iPadOS feels like, a half measure to make mobile and computer-based people happy with little handouts to each, just end up with a blah at the end of it. Maybe it frustrates me now because I've seen what a more than tablet, less than a computer device can be in the Snapdragon Microsoft Surface Pro. Holy crap, I love that thing. It's exactly what I want, except it doesn't have the apps I need, and it's slightly too big. But as far as the operating system goes, it's just Windows 11, but touch enabled. And maybe that's all that I personally want. Maybe it's time for me to say, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna say it. Yes, I want macOS on a thin, light touchscreen product so I can carry one thing. I feel like anytime anybody starts talking about iPadOS, it's almost a requirement to say, well, we don't exactly want macOS to replace iPadOS, but I'm gonna say it, I do. Make 2 lineups if you need to cater to both. Make the iPad Air with iOS as its backbone for those that just want to watch movies on a bigger screen, take notes, or whatever. And make the iPad Pro with macOS and touchscreens for the rest of us. Okay, I didn't mean for that to turn into such a tangent real quickly. I really like the M4 iPad Pro, and I consider it an essential part of my work kit. It's 2024. I shouldn't have to search through old notebooks hidden in drawers to try and get access to old data or meeting notes that I need for future projects, and the M4 iPad Pro with the excellent Apple Pencil Pro have seriously convinced me to ditch the book. Would I recommend the iPad Pro though? No, I would not recommend it as a general use device. If you do want a more general tablet, I would go either with the M2 iPad Air or get one of the older iPad Pros. Those will get you 90% of the capability but cost so much less. The only reason I would say get the M4 Pro specifically is if you want the Squeeze Pencil Pro and Face ID unlocked. Those two together make this a package worth buying, but you need both of them for the price to make sense. But what about you? Do you have or have you considered the M4 iPad Pro? Let us all know in the comments below. And if you like this video, click here to see the best accessories for this wonderful tablet. Click, 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 click. Thanks for watching.